And then it became clear that another level was necessary in that progression, which is to rise above the personal and enter the transpersonal or the mythic. And that they very much complement each other, because it is one of the potential shadows of introspection and deep therapeutic work is that you can get trapped in the me complex, yes? And so you don't want to deny trauma, because trauma will repeat itself if it's left in the shadow. You want to bring it out of the shadow. But you also don't want to get stuck in the one-dimensionality of trauma. So in other words, there are profundities that are available by the study of Buddhism, but then we don't want to just get stuck in an indoctrination of Buddhism. We want to add therapy. And then there are profundities about psychotherapy, but we don't want to just get stuck in the personal attempt at healing. So at each step of the path, we're adding another lens or dimension, which I think adds a multi-dimensionality to it, because the human psyche is just that complex. And it builds, I think, in my estimation, it builds a much more rich and diverse experience. And also, who wants to spend 2 years on trauma? I mean, I wanted this class is going to be much more fun. You probably don't believe me, but it will be much more fun. It'll definitely involve some creative element or aspect, and I want you to look at your dreams, and I want you to be doodling and dawdling and recording in a journal and painting and setting out rituals and doing all kinds of fun things, because that part of our psyche, as we become more conscious and aware, is yearning for that kind of language. So in any event, let's get back to Joseph Campbell. After his period of investigation, he ties together all the world literature in a common theme of the human odyssey or the human journey. And he does distinguish about 17 steps or stages in the what he calls the monomyth, the one ring that rules them all, as the one myth that underpins them all. Doesn't matter what culture, it doesn't matter what decade, it doesn't matter male or female, it doesn't matter rich or poor, it doesn't matter past, present, or future, it doesn't matter this side or that side, east or west, doesn't matter. It all comes down to these 17 stages, and if you don't like 17 stages, just like we didn't like 12 stages of the dependent origination, you can reduce them, and you can reduce them all the way to 3. And the 3 stages, the pith of the hero's journey, is reduced into what is called departure, initiation, and return. Every myth has a departure, sees the hero or heroine in a stage of departure. Every myth has a great initiation of a mentor or a tradition that empowers that hero or heroine to encounter a great ordeal and then make an enormous discovery. And then one doesn't just hang out in the afterglow of their discovery. One comes home for the benefit of others. That is called returning with the elixir. And every tradition has this aspect. And so what I want to do is I want to study it, but I don't want to just study it as a fixture or as an anthropological examination. I want to study it as a personal investigation. And I want you to feel empowered by this material to actually see where you might be on your journey, perhaps coming up to a stage or perhaps arrested in a stage. But once you see the larger model or the larger map, at least you will have a scope of the terrain of where you might be and where you need to go. Does it make sense? So interestingly enough, after Joseph Campbell started, and by the way, his central text, we would call it from the Tibetan point of view, the root text, is called Hero with 1,000 Faces. And part of your recommended reading for each of the succession of classes, it's available for you if you want to refer to the root text. Some Buddhist is probably really annoyed with me right now. But in a way, I think Joseph Campbell's visionary, and he created this first document that has a lot of profundity to it, so you could say it's like the root text. And then then what I've tried to do is give you commentaries or subsidiary readings as the actual readings for each of the stages that we're going to go through. Now, interestingly enough, for today's class,